always thought the light at the end of the tunnel was an oncoming train. I really did, every single time. But, when I came to GraceWay, they told me that it would be okay. And I needed someone just to say it will be okay. And I'll probably get emotional because that's all I wanted, was just to be okay. And I needed the world to just stop for 1 minute for me to get caught up. And GraceWay allowed me to do that.
Welcome to GraceWay Recovery Residence. I'd like to introduce you to our faith-based long-term recovery community for women here in Albany, Georgia. We've been opened for 10 years now, and we've seen lots of miracles happen right here in Southwest Georgia.
I used to think that I used drugs and alcohol because my life was unmanageable. And then I came to treatment, into recovery, and I realized that my life was unmanageable because I was powerless over drugs and alcohol, and because they had stopped working for me.
Through this intense program and with the mentorship of women who have been here a little longer, who reach out a helping hand and share their experience, strength, and hope with newcomers, we have an effective, loving, supportive environment. Okay. This is the chapel of GraceWay, and because we are a long-term spiritual program for women only, we often ask our residents to come and pray about issues and thoughts and concerns in their lives.
No place has ever asked me to dig down, ever, and do any kind of work to find out the root that you call ever.
And I opened up more in 8 or 9 days than I have in my whole 30 years.
That's great.
You go to an AA meeting, okay, and that's great, but what's wrong? What's going on with you?
You sure don't trust that anything is going to work that is not in a pill form or any other way, especially by 12 steps. I thought, you've got to be kidding me. But that's exactly what did work.
Where some addiction centers utilize a very clinical and sometimes pharmaceutical approach to recovery, GraceWay is radically different. We instead think that this is soul surgery, and we offer a safe place for women to dig deep, pull up by the roots old thinking, old behaviors, and employ some new principled living and tools and friendships, and learn how to live life a new way.
I've never taken responsibility. I've always chose the drug, and it's time to grow up, and that's something I've learned here.
I work closely with all of the residents and all of staff. We chair groups. We talk one-on-one. It's a very individualized program here at GraceWay.
I am the family liaison. I'm a counselor. I counsel the girls, but I also do the other half where I call the families on a regular basis. It's every week. We call once a week, and because they're 50% of the recovery.
Like the staff here, they've been through it. They know how we feel. They know what's inside us.
It's more than just not drinking and drugging. It's more than that. It's about learning how to live life sober and how to enjoy life, because if you don't enjoy it, then what's the point?
Recovery is all about health in mind, body, and spirit, and recovering wholeness. So exercise is an important component of the program. We have a number of different individual counseling sessions, group counseling sessions.
How are you?
That is what GraceWay is all about. They put it all together spiritually, emotionally, and physically.
What age do you think your disease began to progress? Or began?
14.
14.
I think mine was probably around 6 or 7, first grade. Feeling like I didn't belong. That the world knew what to do, but I didn't.
When I came to GraceWay, my biggest, obstacle was overcoming the suicide of my husband. And I really never thought that would be able to happen. And I knew that I had taken medications for depression and for anxiety. And one thing that drew me to GraceWay was, they were so focused on the core issues of what I was dealing with. And it was so one-on-one and so intense, and they cared so much about what I was doing and what my story was and what had happened in my life to deal with the core issues of, you know, why I used and drank.
I have learned how to deal with my disease.
It's scheduled for 10.
Part of the disease of addiction lends itself to a life of chaos and disorder. And so it's very important here at GraceWay to have a very structured living environment. So we have schedules, and we follow those schedules. We're like the Marine Corps of recovery. It's a very precise daily rhythm. It's a family of 15 sisters. Everybody has a job to do, and everybody does their very best at their job.
Are you in charge of breakfast every day?
I'm just in charge this week. We all have chores, and I got put in the kitchen. So.
There are chores to be done, and residents will prepare the meal, cook the meal, clean up the meal.
I love the kitchen. This is my favorite chore.
Those that don't know how to cook when they get here, learn how to cook.
The fiber bars from the bread house, they make them. They're really, really good.
Mornings can be hustle bustle, just like in anybody else's family. The residents that are already working outside in the community load up on the van and go to work.
I get to work with the girls from GraceWay.
So what are we making?
PB&J bars.
Once they've put in their 30 days at the house, then they get to go out to do other things. One of the places is here to the bread house, and they get to learn how to bake the bread and greet customers and kind of interact with different people while they're in the process of moving on to greater things.
Where you going?
To a local restaurant. I'm a hostess there. I gotta be there at 11:30.
This is Command Central for GraceWay. This is where the healing really begins, when that phone rings and a dedicated staff member is the answering voice and listening ear on the end of the line.
How did I get here? It's actually a funny story. 2 Decembers ago, I ended up cutting my wrist and going to an adult psychiatric hospital for 7 days. And that 7 days was over Christmas. December 30th, I came home, and December 31st, my mom woke me up and said we were gonna go shoe shopping to kind of cheer me up. And I had no real plans on staying sober, but I knew I needed help. And that December 31st, we went shoe shopping in Atlanta, and 4 hours later, we arrived in Albany. So it was an intervention which today I'm extremely grateful for. You know, and it was by the grace of God that my mom just called one day.
Another thing is the long term, that it can be really scary for people to think, oh my gosh, there's no way I could do that for however, it could be 30 days, that idea, because we want that quick fix, we want it right now. And, but if you could just get through the doors, if you could just walk through the doors, then immediately you've already made one step. You're no longer a junkie, you are now a recovering drug addict.
I thought we might talk about the addiction today, the disease, the thinking behind it, and the behavior. Even how the behavior behind the addiction, the selfishness, self-centered, I want what I want when I want it, the manipulation, how it progresses as well.
And it's so sneaky. Just, tells you lies all the time. It's like this little voice inside your head.
Sneaky.
Yeah, big time sneaky.
That's a major part of the addiction.
I'm in the kitchen right now. I can just not do the spices today. Nobody will know, but that's still, if I have to sneak it, don't do it.
And there's a lot of salt.
Just don't do it.
It's very important to have a safe place to employ principled living in all of your affairs, even when nobody's looking.
Very quickly, GraceWay became my home, and these women became my family. And, my heart and soul was poured into this. And I did struggle, because I had an eating disorder. I'm a self-mutilator. I was very codependent. I have all of these issues that I didn't know how to get to the core of. So my 5 months spent in the house was a lot of digging. There was a lot of truth put in front of me, and it was hard.
What I'm doing is our daily inventory. Every morning when we wake up, we make a plan for the day. Sometimes my plan is to practice brotherly love, it's to keep conscious contact with God, to practice my integrity.
GraceWay utilizes a system of notebooks for the residents to actually log in and type out their homework assignments and complete their daily inventories.
You know, how did we treat people today? Do we treat them with the kind and care and respect that we want to be treated with? And then the counselors make comments, and the comments are usually all uplifting, and it just kind of tells us that we're on the right path, just to keep doing the next right thing.
This addiction is cunning, baffling, and powerful. It is progressive, and it is fatal, and it will take an entire family out with a matter of years.
I have 4 kids, and I've abandoned all of my children because I chose my addiction over my children. And so I'm getting back in their lives, and it's slowly, because my addiction for 12 years, I've been an addict.
They say that for every one of us that are out there using and drinking, there's 17 other people who are feeling the effects of our addiction. And it's a rippling effect all through their social life.
Who here has come in or has ever been taking prescribed medication? Antidepressants, anti-anxiety, mood stabilizers.
I've been on probably like everything, anything prescription drug. That's just how I fix things.
What are all of our addictions in here? It can be to men, to sex, to the idea of a relationship, to shopping, gambling, more. That is the basis of our addiction. Whether it's overeating, bulimia, anorexia, it can be all of those things at once.
And like
You use, it makes you feel guilty, then you feel guilty, so you use.
right.
I work one-on-one with the residents. I'm also the way liaison, so I'm over all of the apartments. And we focus a lot on accountability at the apartments, focusing one-on-one with each resident to see how their transition can be better, can be smoother.
It was a very smooth transition for me, very smooth. They were with me every step of the way. Pretty quick. I opened up a bank account. Things happened slowly, but they happened just the way they should have.
It was definitely an experience for me in the house. And then I moved over to the way, and it's that in-between phase of treatment, rehab, sober living, and living in the real world. It's that stepping stone in between.
If I hadn't been for GraceWay, I'd still be out there using. I know I would.
The love and the gratitude and the discipline and the integrity that have been instilled in me in the past 2 years, I just can't even tell you how grateful I am for that.
And when you walk out of these gates, I hope that you, first of all, don't care what anybody thinks other than yourself and God or your higher power.
It's different every day, but it's always the same principles, We live by the principles of the 12 steps. So as long as we apply them in all aspects of our life, God does the rest. We just kind of have to show up. What if it is possible to love myself no matter what I look like, no matter what size jeans I had on, no matter what brand of jeans I had on, to look in your eyes in the mirror and tell yourself, I love you. You are worthy. Your good enough is good enough. Period. That can help.
Your thoughts become your words become your actions, and your actions ultimately become your character.
Because it's those small things we do in recovery that build for the big things. And if we get used to putting our whole entire effort into those small things, when something big comes along, it's like, God's got it, and I know I can do my best because I'm willing to go to any lengths for my recovery.
Mama, way.